but we can't do raised hands on Zoom. So yeah, Christine.
Here.
Janice Gomes.
Here.
Amanda Souza Vieira. She's not here yet. She may come. Rosemary Eva.
Here.
Stu Hardy. He's not here yet. Adam Raposa.
Present.
Peter Bramonti. He's not here yet. And I'm Susan Gill, chairman. We also have Todd Romano, who is our solicitor for the evening. We have Kelly Ravenel, who's the engineer representing Steer Engineering, and Jennifer Siciliano is out on medical leave. And we have a new member, Ed Rotella. He's at your, well, I don't know where he is on your screen. He's the new land use clerk. So we want to welcome him. I think he's been here 2 weeks. He's baptism by fire. So, but yeah, we'll go forward and we're doing the best we can. So, all right, the first item on the agenda is ECC Eagleville LLC, a development plan, a site review, construction materials, storage yard with storage bins on 27.7 acre parcel. It's Zero Fish Road, plat 105, lot 601, west of Route 24, north side Eagleville Road, Industrial Zoning District. Discussion and recommendation, a vote. The time clock of 65 days is February 24th, 2022. The application was submitted December 21st, 2021, and we don't have a certificate of completeness to work with here. So if the people that are here for that, I guess Eric Bransky and Lynn Small, if they're the two members. If Andrew wants to bring them onto the screen, and then they can introduce themselves for the record. Okay. Oh, there's Eric. Okay.
Hi, good evening.
Hi. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself for the record?
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Romano. For the record, Eric Bransky on behalf of the applicant, which is ECC Eagleville LLC. I know Lynn Small from Northeast Engineers is also here. She's our engineering representative.
Okay. Okay. So first of all, I just wanted to say with kind of a changeover and not a full complement of personnel, just on behalf of the planning board, apologize is the right word, but you know, we didn't have a certificate of completeness for you to review. So, and Steer Engineering just received the plans, we realized yesterday. So you don't have that information. That'll be tonight. So tonight is really the first time that you're getting any feedback from anybody here. I apologize for that, but
Not a problem.
the way the chips fell. So
In the days of COVID, Madam Chair, you know, we don't sweat the small stuff anymore.
okay, great. So why don't you go ahead, whoever wants to go ahead and present your application, go ahead.
Sure. And hopefully I'd like to kind of clarify something with the board tonight in terms of the use. Maybe Mr. Romano can help me as well. But I'll begin with just an overview. So this property is a 27, almost 28 acre piece of property located in the industrial zone on Eagleville Road. It's bounded by both Eagleville Road and Route 24. The site is a pre-existing site, for all intents and purposes, a virgin site. It hasn't been used for any type of consistent use before my client recently acquired it. My client are the same folks that just built the Tradesman Center over on 1631 Fish Road. So different entity, same principles. Also known as East Coast Construction. And basically what my clients are seeking to do on this site is have an accessory storage and use yard for their construction business. They are a heavy highway site development construction, roadway construction, utility construction company, headquartered in Portsmouth, but they do a lot of work in all over southern New England, Rhode Island, et cetera. And basically they want to utilize this site for accessory storage of materials they use in conjunction with the construction business, some of the construction equipment that they use, trucks, loaders, things of that nature. And we have prepared a site plan, which I know the board has seen for the first time. So I'll kind of walk you through it, and I'm sure Lynn can do that too. The site plan basically shows the existing conditions and then where we are proposing to fill, where we're proposing to have a gravel access road, the detention areas and drainage areas, and where we're going to have storage bins for the stone and gravel, et cetera. On site, we have received a RIPD's permit already from the RIDEM, and Lynn can speak a little bit more in terms of the drainage specifics and the engineering specifics on this site. But we applied for a development plan review. The question I had was, it appears there was a change in the zoning ordinance from the time that we last looked at it in terms of the use and the time of submission, which admittedly is probably 8, 9, 10 months ago. And there are two different ordinances pulling up online, one where wholesale storage, construction, storage, et cetera, was permitted by right in the industrial zone, which we were under the impression that that was the use of the site. But my young associate pointed out to me that if you pull up the zoning code, which it says amended 10/21/21, that a special use permit is now required from the zoning board. So if at all possible, I'd like to get a little clarification on that. Lynn will present the overall engineering specifics, but that's what we have for you, Madam Chair, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, here, we'll go ahead and have your engineer present it, but yeah, I'm having a hard time recalling a zoning change for use tables. I don't recall that. So yeah, I don't know, Todd, if you can research that, because that would have had to gone before the council. And what was the date on it?
So the one we pulled up on Unicode, and it could be wrong, says 10/21/21 effective, but I know on another Unicode web page, it's pulling up the ordinance that I've always had that dates back to, I think, 2019, that says it's permitted by right. So it is something we'd like to get clarified if at all possible.
Right. Yeah, we need to. I know mine has the permitted by right also, but I think what happens sometimes, it takes years before they get this stuff codified. So maybe that did happen. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out.
We're fine with it permitted by right, Madam Chair. Just
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it does shorten the process. Yeah,
Have you looked at whether this is vested as because your application was submitted beforehand? Just off the top of my head.
Oh, okay. Well, the application was submitted in December. So yeah,
There was
after
a codification. There was a Unicode codification done. I too do not recall any public hearings on any changes of uses. I'll go with Susan.
Perhaps we're wrong. I don't know.
I don't know.
I guess I'd
Pull up two different Unicodes.
Yeah, we'd have to go through the council or clerk's office to find that. I don't know, Todd, I guess that's something that if you can, the clerk would have it, I guess, for council records or somebody. I mean, that's where, zoning changes would have occurred, so.
Yes, we will look into that. And
Okay.
Mr. Bransky, what he's suggesting is that the board can only give a conditional approval then.
Right, well, because this is a design review, we're basically not the permitting authority. We make a recommendation to the building official. But
Right.
if that requires them for a special use permit, then they will have to go before zoning, so.
Right. That's how I read it.
We'll just have to make it a condition in the event, I guess, if we don't find out for sure, get it cleared up before we finish with this, so.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
More things. Okay. I guess if Lynn, if you want to go ahead, I don't know if you can screen share the plans and then review them for us.
I'm going to mute.
Okay.
I'm going to bring you in as a panelist so you can just share your screen.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
you might want to say that Stu and Peter joined the
Oh.
meeting, just for the record.
All right. Oh, yeah, I saw Peter was here. And then where's Stu? Oh, there's Stu. Hi, Stu. Okay, yeah, so Stu and Peter are now here. Welcome. 6:42.
Apologies, the link was not working in the agenda, so I had to enter the
Yeah, number. Yeah, everybody found that out, I guess. Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you made it on. So we're just waiting for the screen shares of the plans.
I don't have the ability to screen share yet. Oh, here it is, join as panel.
I guess the other option is if you can't get it working, Kelly, is there any way you could set up the screen share if she can't get it?
I have it. I just didn't have access before. My
Okay, great.
apologies.
Okay,
I missed his notice on inviting me as a panelist. It came up behind my panel that I had open. Okay, so I have, let me just, this is a copy of our plan set, the civil plan set that we submitted with the application. I'm just running to the cover because it gives us a good overview of the entire site. And the rest of the set, we have to split it into 2 sheets so we can get at a reasonable scale when we can read it. But I wanted to show you the general layout of the site. You can see it's on Eagleville Road, the north side of Eagleville Road. It's a pretty big parcel, about 1.2 million square feet. There is a large wetland complex that kind of goes along the northern and western borders. The site drains north, and we have these 2 pieces that are kind of like peninsulas, which force us to do kind of a split drainage system. I'll move into, I don't know if you want to see a little bit more detail on the wetland flagging, but we did have that done. I believe it was Natural Resource Services who had done the flagging. And then we show the 50-foot setback from that wetland perimeter that's regulated by the DEM. Then when we get to sheet 3, I mean, I don't know what sheet this is actually. I can't see the whole page. It's sheet 6. This is the southern portion, half of the site, where we have the access driveway, which comes in off Eagleville Road, and we have it located towards the east side of the site. And then most of the property, we're going to be doing some grading to flatten it out because it has some pretty interesting topography right now. We have a boulder wall that'll be located along the wetland edge on the inside of the buffer. And then we'll be putting a swale just at the top edge of that, which will help convey the stormwater into you know, a 3-phased drainage system. The first section right here, I think you can see my hand, correct?
yes.
Okay, so this first section right here is basically your sediment forebay where all your sands kind of get captured. And then it will overflow into your water quality device, which is a sand filter, and then it goes into your detention basin. Right now, the site is vegetated with trees. So basically the drainage system, because we don't have any buildings, is mitigating the stormwater by because we are changing that surface of the site from trees to basically grass and gravel is going to be the surface types that we end up with. And what we show here are some bins. I think you've seen them. These are like those mulch bins you might see at like a landscape place. You know, they have the black mulch in one and the brown mulch in another. So that's what they would be. And then some stockpiles. And these would be, you know, for, you know, larger quantities of materials that they need. They're placeholders. We're not saying they're going to have this many, or they might have a few more. We did the overall design of the project, just modeled this whole area as gravel. That's worst case scenario. So the drainage system will work regardless. Then if we go to the next sheet, we have this piece can't be captured in the previous drainage system that I showed you. So we have this as basically regraded, and then it's going to be grass into a detention area because of the meadow grasses that we have that acts as your water quality or pretreatment for this site. And that's basically it. The rest of our set we have, because we don't have any building on here, we don't have any utility needs. So it's basically going to be a pretty passive site in that respect. We will have your silt fences going around to protect the wetland. And then we'll have some temporary basins that we'll install to protect the site, the wetland from getting any sediments in there while we're doing the grading work. And then we have the details associated with the drainage systems and the silt fencing further as you get deeper into the site, the plan set. I believe Steer will probably look at those more than this board. But that's basically the overall of the project. We did submit a landscape plan. Did you want me to stop share and change that plan over and run through that quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so this is the landscape plan. And like I said, for the most part, the site is going to be grass or gravel. We focused the landscaping features for the site along Eagleville Road. That's what you're going to see. This just adds some screening for you along the roadway, and then gives us a decent area for a future sign so that, you know, people don't pass it when they're trying to get onto the property. But it is a relatively simple landscaping plan because we don't have any, like I said, we don't have any building or parking lot or anything for this site. We did submit the civil plans, the drainage report, and erosion control manual off to DEM. The site disturbs over an acre. So we're subject to a RIPTES permit and a wetlands permit. We did receive both of those and have those. I believe a copy of the approval was submitted with the package to you. If not, I can forward that over afterward.
We didn't get those. If you can send us both the permits, yeah. They're noted on the plan. That's why I wasn't sure if they'd been granted, but yeah, if you've got permits, it'd be good to submit them.
Yes, we do have them. So I can forward them off to you.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, Lynn, would you mind just increasing the magnification a little bit?
You looking at a specific, did you want the list? What do you?
I wanted to see the buffer zone at the entrance just a little closer. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I just have one question. You had mentioned the signage, and there's not any utility, but is that sign illuminated? And is there a need for any lighting on the access road into the property, or is that not happening after sundown hours?
Lynn,
No,
oh, go ahead.
Yep. Go ahead,
So,
Eric.
yeah, so to answer your question, the sign will not be illuminated, and my clients don't anticipate working after sunset hours, so there's really not a whole lot of need for lighting on the way in. It's really just an accessory site.
Will there be some type of a trailer in there? This is Rosemary asking.
I don't know that we've made a determination on that yet. Whatever it will be, it's not going to be a permanent building. There may be like a small construction trailer there at some point, but it'd be one of those portable units. No foundation, no running water, nothing like that.
You probably still need electrical.
You know, we could operate off a generator. That's what most of these things do, because they're so limited in terms of what you're doing in there. It's just a matter of lighting and a computer, typically.
Eric, this is Adam Raposa. I just had one question. So you have on here an area to preserve for a septic system. So there must be some potential for future development aside from what you're doing here, if you're leaving aside a spot for a septic system. Is that accurate? Are they going to be
Yeah.
putting buildings or offices or anything like that there?
There are no plans for that right now, Adam, and the reason you're seeing that is that was done and provided to us by the seller.
Okay.
So we had all that information and incorporated it into the plans.
Okay.
Okay. I'd like to call like Kelly from Steer. I know it's like it's very short notice. She did send a overview report that we can forward to the applicant. But I don't know if you want to make the generalized comments and all that. I don't know. I doubt you've had time to look at the stormwater runoff, and it would be good if you could go through that and give us a full written report, you know,
Sure.
going forward. But if you want to go through some of the things that you cited or have questions about.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go through maybe the most important questions or the biggest questions as opposed to formatting stuff and things I found in the plan and the stormwater runoff report. So again, I would just like to mention that because we did receive these yesterday, these comments are more so general and broad as opposed to an in-depth review being performed. My first question relates to the general note 7 states that the wetlands were delineated on, it looks like November 2nd of 2016. It might just be an issue with the note. It looks like the year of the date is cut off. So it says the location shown by Mount Hope Engineering on 11/17/20, and then it's missing the year. So I only bring this up because if the wetlands were flagged too long ago, so you'd have to check with DEM, but if the wetlands were flagged too long ago and not recently, those would need to be reflagged because they do have to be recent within, I believe, a couple of years. So it just depends on when that last wetland flagging was performed.
We did get the wetlands permit, so they have been out to the site and reviewed the flags that were placed in the field.
Okay, so it might just be reconciling then general note 7, just to make sure that that date is included there. Next point is the soil erosion and sediment control notes, as well as on the details reference straw wattles and or straw bales. And it's important just to note that if the intent is the same as hay bales and wattles, that hay bales and wattles are not permitted for use because they've been known to contain invasive seed. I did also see that you guys are using compost filter stock, which should be used, but just as a note, it looks like it's 10-inch compost filter stock, whereas the 12 inch is right on standard.
Okay.
Has an operations and maintenance plan been submitted for all of the drainage structures?
Yes, that's required as part of the state permit.
Okay, I don't know that I received that.
Okay, we can forward that off to you.
Okay, next relates to the proposed driveway. So I have a couple of different points for the proposed driveway. One of them is, has it been checked using auto turn for the turning radius? And I ask this because it looks like it's a 22-foot wide driveway, which to begin with would be tight for two-way directions of vehicles, let alone large construction vehicles. And I also didn't know if thought had been given for the need for emergency vehicles to ever go down there and turn around.
So the cul-de-sac that we have at the end meets the standard generally required. I mean, we can check with the local fire department if they have anything on top of that, but this access driveway meets federal fire requirements for width and the turnaround.
Okay.
So unless the town exceeds that requirement, it should meet their code.
Okay. In terms of the makeup of the driveway, so I see that it says compacted gravel. Is the intent for the gravel driveway to be pervious?
We did not model it as pervious. Under the stormwater regs, they kind of treat it as impervious now. And when you get deeper into the drainage calculations, you'll see that we do provide water quality treatment for it as well.
Yep, okay, I saw that. The last note for the driveway, actually 2 notes. One, I would not recommend I saw that clamshell surface treatment is proposed. That's generally just not recommended if it could be gravel. Clamshell, I'm sure as Tiverton knows, there's been problems with it not being clean, or it can emit smells and stuff. So clamshell is generally not preferred or recommended, I should say, just as a note. And then secondly, the limit of disturbance, more importantly at the proposed driveway. So compost filter stock needs to encompass the entire limits of disturbance and project. So you do need compost filter stock running along, I think it's the east side of the property, because again, it's to prevent erosion and sediment from even entering the adjacent property. So just make sure that compost filter stock completely surrounds the project area.
All right, on our plans, we only have it on the down gradient sides, so we do not have it on the east side.
Yeah, I would recommend it on the east side I guess just in case. Usually I see it around the entire property. I could revisit that because if it is up gradient.
There's also a vegetated edge on that side of the property, so I don't know that you'll have any erosion going that way, but by all means, take a look and let us know your thoughts on that.
Okay. My next points relate just to the proposed topography. Like you mentioned, it seems that it's proposed to flow from south to north. I was wondering if the orientation of the material bin block enclosures, some of them, if you could scroll up on the, actually, I'll go to
I can switch to the other plan if you'd like.
Yeah, if you could, the proposed site plan that shows the bins.
There you go.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I was wondering if because of the orientation of the bins, specifically the stone ones, the sand ones, possibly the loam off to the east, I was wondering if because those are faced, in which if it were to rain and if any sediment or whatever it may be from those piles were to then just travel to the north due to the steep topography. So I was wondering if, first of all, that it travels northbound too easily if it were to rain, and if the material bin block enclosures, it's probably best to provide a detail for those. Does it include a bottom for those? Like, is there a bottom surface?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I don't think they normally include a bottom surface. I think it would be right on top of the gravel.
Yeah, it's just, Lynn, it's usually just compacted gravel.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if because of the topography that at least the ones for stone and sand should almost be oriented 180 degrees, only because I wonder if and when it rains, if that just infiltrates through the sand and then it starts to slowly just travel northbound.
So you want us to basically orientate them so that when it rains, it drains into the bin instead of out of the bin.
Correct.
Okay.
Next would be, let me check. The straw bale check dams, it looked like from your details, are proposed for the vegetated swale. And are these temporary condition or proposed to be permanent?
We're putting them in, the vegetated swales are along the top of the boulders that are adjacent to the wetlands. So we're anticipating having, a depression there permanently, just to make sure we're not adding sediments or having, uncaptured runoff into the wetland.
Okay, it was more so just if the check dams are going to be permanent. Straw bale check dams are generally for a temporary condition because they often.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize your question was for the check dams. I thought it was for the swales. Yeah, the check dams are just until you have an established surface.
Okay, just as a note, they do deteriorate quickly. So if they were to be permanent, I would recommend the stone check dams, but if they're temporary, that's fine.
Okay.
And then fine, so that's all I had for the plans. And then in terms of the stormwater runoff report, again, my comments are broad and it's more so how they relate to the plan than anything that sort of stuck out to me. So as a note, it seems that table 4.1.1, which describes the differences between the existing and proposed conditions. So it looks like there's a decrease in peak runoff, but an increase in the 24-hour runoff. Is that correct?
I would have to pull up the report to tell you the truth.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know the plans that well. Let me see. Would you say which table was that?
Table 4.1.1.
So there is a reduction in the
Peak runoff, but there's an increase in the 24-hour runoff.
the water quality storm.
I can pull it up too, or if you could pull it up and share it on the screen.
Oh, sorry. My brain doesn't tolerate too much with these Zooms. Here we go. I think you can see the report here. I have the table here and you're talking about this water quality storm.
Well, so it's for all of the columns. So it looks like the second and third column are comparing the peak runoff, and that's a volume, that's cubic feet per second, between the existing conditions and the proposed conditions. So as you can see in everyone other than the water quality storm, it looks to be a decrease, even by a little bit. But
Right.
then the last two columns are comparing the 24-hour runoff between the existing and proposed.
Right, that's your volume. That's an acre feet, so that's your 24-hour volume. And it does have some increase, but that was an acceptable condition.
Okay,
For the wetlands.
I would recommend at least for this table, I think it would be helpful, I know for me and the board as well, to have a column for each of those, just giving the difference between the existing and proposed. That way we don't have to calculate it ourselves. That way we can also see the increase in proposed volume 24-hour runoff, I think would be most helpful.
So Lynn,
Okay.
we could provide the delta in the, like a supplemental, which is fine, but
Yep.
does Kelly, I hope it's okay to call you Kelly.
Yeah.
Does Kelly have the RIPD's permit issued by the DEM too?
I don't have the RIPD's permit.
We didn't receive it.
Okay, so perhaps Lynn, with your supplemental showing the delta, we could provide the RIPD's permit as well.
Of course.
And just so the board's aware, Kelly, you're aware, I think my client thought it was a very good suggestion to spin the bins, I guess. Spin the bins, right?
Yeah.
Spin the bins
Like that.
the other way. I think it makes more sense. So we're amenable to that.
It's kind of a catch-22 with the bins, because if you spin them 180, presumably it will end up catching all of the water, because the water will be flowing that way. So it might just take a little bit more investigation of which orientation is best. But the way you have them now, of course, blocks the flow of water from
Right.
entering it, but any water that it rains down on would then just freely seep from it. So yeah, the orientation of the bins would just need some investigation.
Sure, we'll take a look at that.
May I ask a question, Susan? This is
Sure.
Rick at DPW.
Sure, go ahead.
Sure. There's a lot of different plans, of course, but one of the ones I'm looking at, the bins seem to have the wall on the north side, and then, a little ways away, enough room for the trucks to get in and out. The walls are on the south side. So what is it that, at this point, that you, Kelly, and Lynn are saying maybe the better way to do it is? Is it better, in your opinion, to have the walls on the north or the south, since it seems that the grade is to the south, if I understand it correctly?
I don't know that I can answer that. It might end up being, perhaps it might end up being the way it's oriented now, the best of both options, because so the northernmost ones, the gravel and loam, the idea is that water could freely flow into those. but then it would be prevented from continuing to flow northbound because, like you said, the bins are oriented with the wall to the north. So it's a catch-22 because those aren't great because they're going to hold all of the water. And the ones to the south, the stone and sand ones, are also not great because it's better that the flow is stopped from the flow. So like the surface flow doesn't flow directly into the piles. But because that one, let's say the sand one, by nature of sand, I'm nervous that if we get a lot of rain, that all of that sand would then just freely travel to the north. So I'm not sure if it's an consideration to how the bins are oriented or what material goes in which bins, but I just wouldn't want the sand is my biggest concern. I wouldn't want the sand to just flow freely to the north. So it seems to me that even if you, and this is just a off the cuff thought, if you kept the orientation of the bins the same, but at the very least moved the gravel to where the sand is, I think that would at least alleviate the problem. But again, you just don't want material flowing freely from a pile because of the steeply sloped topography.
Okay,
Well, you know that, Kelly, just so I want to make sure you're aware that we're adjusting the topography so it won't be as steep. It still has a decent pitch, but it won't be as steep as it is today.
Okay, yeah, I was unaware of that, but it might, again, just some investigation in terms of either or both the orientation of the bins or which material goes where. Because again, the biggest concern is that sand, that once it has enough water from above, so rain, that it's just going to flow right into the loam or flow past the loam and continue on northbound.
And I think that's a good point. I'm fairly confident East Coast doesn't want to lose their material, so.
Right.
and if I may say something again, this is again Rick at DPW. Something that may want to be considered is since it goes south to north, if the walls of the bins are on the north side and you had something like a wattle, a compost wattle, so it doesn't have invasive species, but a wattle on the back side of the wall, that may prevent the sediment from leaching out. And what I've seen in all these bins, I've never seen them cemented in. The most I've ever seen is either a concrete or an asphalt pad with, hernia blocks, in other words, like 2x2x8 or such concrete blocks as the retaining wall. Very few are actually poured in place. But if you had that, and again, as Kelly mentioned, the seam between the block and either the gravel or the pad would be subject to, the sediment leaching out, particularly the loam and the sand and even the gravel. So that's my 2 cents. And if I may just ask another question, Lynn, you mentioned that the proposed condition volume increase, and some of them to me look substantial. You said those are within the parameters. Whose parameters, and what is the delta that is acceptable?
So it's not a requirement of the state. So the state issues the stormwater regulations for the state of Rhode Island, and towns they adopt it and enforce it at a local level. So it's a state regulation and it's not a requirement to do volume. And the DEM reviewed it, it's going to wetlands. Now, if we were draining towards a state road, the DOT enforces volume control for the 10-year storm. So if we were draining to a state road, we would have had to look at volume. But when you're draining towards a wetland area, that is not something that they're regulated.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Rick, I had a question for you. Is this a state road or a town road?
Town road,
So they'll need a curb cut from you.
yes.
Yeah. Do you see any issues with it?
No, as long as the line of sight is acceptable. the curb cut would not be a problem.
Okay. All right. All right, thank you.
And then I just had one final comment, Kelly from Spear again. So for the stormwater runoff report, both the existing conditions and the proposed conditions, it's HydroCAD is, I'm assuming what was used, correct? HydroCAD?
Yes.
So it lists the types of areas that are included in the subcatchments. And so to start, the existing conditions, subcatchment 101, contains just two types of area. So it was pavement and woods/grass combination. So I just wanted to first suggest that I think it would be immensely helpful for the areas to be shown on the plans, whether that be on the actual plan set or whether there's just sort of a makeshift map included with the HydroCAD report. Only because, oh, go ahead.
I think there's a watershed plan. I mean, our report includes I'm sorry if I'm getting anybody seasick over there by switching plans out.
It does show like a HydroCAD map showing how the things are linked together. But my question or concern was more so that, so for example, the existing conditions again lists pavement and woods/grass combination, where if I remember correctly, and I'll go to the cover sheet, I know that it says meadow. It says meadow in two places. And then, hang on, let me pull up the existing.
That's on proposed conditions. Existing conditions, it should be pavement and basically woods. I have the plan up.
Where is the pavement in the existing condition?
A portion of Eagleville Road. I pulled up the existing conditions watershed plan so you could see it. I mean, maybe it's conservative, but by the topography, it appears that a portion of Eagleville Road drains into the site.
Okay, and then
Right here.
secondly, for the proposed conditions, I don't know if you have the same thing for the proposed conditions. It lists meadow, non-grazed, and wood/grass combinations area. I just didn't know. Well, I had listed that all areas should be delineated on the proposed conditions plan, and it included 0.113 acres, which is only about 5,000 square feet of off-site pavement. So I was wondering where that was located.
So I think that's probably still Eagleville Road. Off-site pavement here. So we don't put the area, but we do label the surface material that was used in the calculation.
And is this in the stormwater report?
It should be, or it's a separate attachment, but if you don't have it, I can shoot it over to you.
Yeah, I don't think I had either of these, but so that answers my question. So thank
It
you.
certainly does give you a picture to look at, so yeah.
Yeah. But so that's all I had in terms of, again, it was a broad overview of both the plans and the stormwater runoff report. I know the stormwater runoff report was like almost, I think it was almost 100 pages. So I did not get a chance to go through calculations or in depth. But so these, again, are just general or overall comments. But that's all I had.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, do other members of the board have questions?
I do.
I have two things I'd like to bring
Adam.
up. Rosemary, if that's all right.
No.
So one of them, just some clarification for, this is section 2.3.2 of the stormwater runoff analysis. It says that the minimum standard cannot be met due to elevated water tables, and it's required that the standard be waived. Is that true?
That is groundwater recharge.
Okay.
And yes, and it's a typical standard that gets waived in
Okay.
this part of Rhode Island.
All right.
We always have high water tables. So.
Does the driveway need to meet the setback guidelines for that area, that zoning area, and the industrial use? Do we need to follow the setbacks, the 35-foot side yard setback for the driveway, or is the driveway not included? in the
Usually
setback?
those setbacks are for structures.
It would be a structure, it's a driveway. Right?
Okay. That's all I want to know.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Rosemary, was you had a question?
Yes. Could somebody tell me why there's a minor subdivision of 2 lots put in with this package? This is a standalone lot, is it not? And this it was in our package and
It
it's
is,
prepared for Tipping Point Realty. Shouldn't this be incorporated into the plan set? If that's what
So-
you're trying to do and only for one lot? I have never seen a minor subdivision go into any plan, new plan.
so the boundary survey for the plan set that my office was put together references the boundary that was part of that minor subdivision previously. We included it just for your reference, so that you would have confirmation that the boundary was done by a registered land surveyor.
It should be incorporated into the packet. I mean, but not with two lots. One lot should be here for all your dimensions.
Well, we
And
have
the
that,
title block is off. I mean, it says Eagleville Road subdivision.
like I said, we just included a copy of the previous subdivision plan in with the plan set. But if you look at sheets 4 and 5 in your plan set, that includes the perimeter dimensions of the site.
But they're not stamped by a surveyor, right? So that's
That
why
is
you're
not-
including it?
Right, but we reference the
I've
stamped
seen
plan.
references, Lynn. I don't mean to be, I've seen references on plans, but nothing like this. I think it's a shortcut.
It's allowed legally. If the board feels that we need to have another plan generated that's stamped for just this lot and the subdivision plan isn't acceptable, then that is something we can do.
Mr. Solicitor, if it's a standalone petition, should it not be incorporated as such?
I'm a little confused as to what the issue is, Madam Chair. Perhaps we can clarify it.
I think what she's asking is if this is a single lot, that it should have its own survey with all the dimensions and not being, basically you're carrying the survey over from a previous subdivision, I think is.
Right, I got you. So the original owner had subdivided this property and we are utilizing the prior survey that he performed for the site, which is it's the same piece of property.
Right.
It's the same survey. It's just, you're saying you want it as a standalone survey? Is that what you're looking?
I guess, Todd, is that allowed to take a survey from a previous recorded plan and carry it through to this plan, or are they required to get their own survey documented?
So I'm looking at your checklist and you require a class 1 survey stamped and signed by a professional land surveyor. Include at least one boundary georeference point.
Is your engineer a surveyor also? Is he a registered surveyor?
I am not a surveyor, but we have surveyors on staff, or we can get the plan to
Yeah,
just.
Jeremy Rosa, all the plans are signed and stamped by Jeremy Rosa. Is he
He's one of my engineers. He's also not a surveyor, but we have registered land surveyors in-house.
Okay, so Todd, what did you recommend they do?
Mr. Brinsky, are you suggesting that the subdivision plan satisfies the class 1 survey stamped and signed by a professional land surveyor?
Yes.
He's
Okay.
showing two lots there. He's not showing the one applicable lot for this application.
So he's taking a previous recorded,
Right, so you have the two original lots
Yeah.
stamped in class 1 survey, Mr. Romano. It's just only one of the lots is applicable to this site. It's still a class 1 survey. It's just not both lots, it's just one. I suppose we can get a standalone plan. It would be as simple as calling the surveyor and having them do that. It's the same plan. It's just not showing the other lot. If
The
that's
title block is different
we could change the title block too.
and you,
I mean, would you recommend that they provide a separate, I mean, they can use the previous survey, but just sign it off?
I don't have a copy of the subdivision survey, but based on what I'm hearing from Ms. Eva, and based on the checklist requirement, it sounds as well as Mr. Brinsky's tentative acquiescence, I think you can require a standalone survey.
Rather, so they can't rely on the one that was done previously? You're saying that would have to be done again?
I've never encountered this situation before.
I know. That's why I don't know if legally, if they can do that, if they can transfer one survey that's recorded to this survey, if they can do that.
We'll provide a standalone survey. I don't think it'll be an issue, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Seems as though the
And that's
survey and the other can easily generate a new one, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
You're welcome. Not a problem.
Okay. Do you have any other questions, Rosemary? Comments?
No. Oh, on the cover sheet or the second sheet, the fee was empty. Was that collected?
Ed, Ed, I don't know if you respond with, you collect the fee for this application?
Yes,
Okay. All right.
this was from East Coast Construction, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, we received it.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have questions? Oh, Stu?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Good. I'm here.
I know. Welcome.
It took a bit.
Yeah, I was challenging it.
Just a couple of quick questions. First of all, there is a gravel driveway into the site now. Is that the beginning of what is proposed to be the access road to the bins and the storage area?
So thank you for your question, Mr. Hardy. Nice to see you again. It's been a long time. The driveway that's there is generally in the same place that the new gravel road is going to go. There's obviously going to be some improvements pursuant to the plans, but they needed to be able to access the site to go out there and shoot the grades and do things like that. So that's what's there.
And a second question is, will East Coast Construction use this site exclusively for their own needs for sand and gravel and other construction materials and whatever fill they bring back? Because I know they're in the excavating business as well as doing some construction. Will they use this exclusively, or will they be leasing as well to other construction organizations?
No. The intention is to have East Coast Construction utilize the site as part and parcel to their business.
So just East Coast Construction. So that would certainly limit the amount of truck traffic on Eagleville Road. My final question has to do with the 3 or 4 circular fill piles that are depicted on the plans. And I was just wondering, what is the nature of the fill? Are we talking about crushed cement such as we see on a site on Eagleville Road just east of the subject property, where huge piles of concrete, broken up concrete have been deposited? So,
Yes,
so I guess my question is, what kind of fill are we talking about? Because those are going to be pretty big piles, judging by the circumference on your plans.
Yeah, and those are approximate. I don't think they're meant to be to scale. I think what you're looking for is typical things that East Coast Construction or any other heavy highway construction company would use. Construction and demolition debris that's crushed and processed, gravel, loam, stone, recycled asphalt, things of that nature, rock, ledge that's crushed up and aggregate things of that nature.
Can you give us any sense of how tall those fill piles will be? For example, will they be as tall as some of the LAL construction, site-ready construction piles are just on the east side of Route 24? which are very visible from Route 24? Or are
So-
we
so-
talking about piles that'll be much less noticeable?
So I can't speak to exactly how tall they're going to be because they're going to fluctuate, right? So at times they'll be larger, at times they'll be smaller, depending on the need of East Coast construction. But I can tell you that East Coast Construction's operation for the this site is pales in comparison to what LAL is doing next door. And if you might recall, LAL is also has the ability to expand that site and utilize the material on site as part and parcel to their construction operation and their expansion of that, because they've been there forever. This is a new operation. They're not excavating on this site, nothing like that. They're strictly hauling material in and out. I can't imagine it would be anywhere near its scale to LAL, but that the piles are going to fluctuate as they have a big project. They may go higher, and as the project's completed, it goes lower. I can't specify. I'm not trying to be evasive. It's just the nature of the business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, I had a couple of questions or comments. One is, I guess, I don't know if you want to do it when you do the survey. Typically, we have the district regulations and zone, listed, like whether it's by the legend or somewhere you had it as an addendum. We'd like to get that on the plan set that shows all the setbacks. And then I couldn't find setbacks on your plan. Maybe I'm not seeing them. The only one I could find was the one for the wetland setback. But especially on your proposed, you should show all your setbacks front and side and rear. If you can include those.
Lynn, can you add those two things, please?
And what was the other one? Oh, when we get to the frontage road, so you have on the landscape plan, the plants and that. I was just wondering if you needed if you felt there was a need for a gate or some kind of fencing along that line, or you feel confident that you're not going to have people wandering in after hours. It just seemed like you'd want a gate there, and then maybe a fence where from the trees, because I think once you get past the trees, I assume it's wooded and impassable. Is that right?
It's a meadow.
To the west? I'm thinking
No.
that follows, that tracks Eagleville. That's why I was wondering if you don't need to.
Oh, I'm sorry. There was
frontage.
So, my client is likely going to build a berm there, where the trees are going to be located. But in terms of, a gate across the road, it's certainly something that my client would consider putting in, and I think it makes sense for hours of operation.
Right, that's why I wonder if you could just show that on the plans then, where there's going to be a gate and
Sure.
be a berm or fencing. And then I just declare, I just don't understand. So all the boulders that are along the west side, are those below grade, above grade? Are they at grade? Are you building like a detention thing, a wall? What do you build? I don't get what the boulders are supposed to be doing.
The boulders are acting as a retaining wall along that wetland edge.
So you're building a stone wall?
Yeah, but it'll be out of the boulders that are on site.
Right. So how tall? I mean, I don't know. You're doing like a couple boulders high, 5 feet high? I don't know. I just wanted to understand what you're doing.
Okay, let me just.
Because it's a two-dimensional, so I don't know what all those boulders are.
So, I mean, it's gonna be fairly tall. We do give you the elevations. So towards Eagleville Road, that boulder is really only gonna be a couple feet tall. But then as you get into the site, in some areas, it's like 12 feet tall. And then as you get further back, it goes back down to like, 5, 6 or 6 feet, and then it fans out. So it kind of varies. And it is allowing us to basically flatten out that steepness that the site has right now.
So you're saying that's the height of the wall, or that's just following the topography? That's the elevation. I don't know.
So that's basically the difference between the toe of the boulder wall on the wetland side and the top of it on the site side.
Okay, so it's going to be vertical. It's not going to add additional, I guess, drainage area before the wetlands, right?
Correct. It was accounted for, and right, we accounted for that in our stormwater calculations.
That it will help
Yeah.
slow down the flow into the wetlands?
Right, because at the top of that boulder wall, we do have a swale that brings the water down towards the drainage basin.
Oh, so that's elevated. So you have a boulder wall and then all those swales are also up.
Well, they'll be on the site side of the wall, but they won't be sticking out of the ground. Your highest point will be the top of that boulder wall.
Okay, yeah, it's just the two-dimensional. Sorry, I'm just trying, for my own edification, trying to understand what that, all those boulders were supposed to be doing and where they were going and all that. So I'm still not sure. I got 3D on it, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's see. I think we got. Oh, so Rick, are you still there? So do they need to apply, if there is already an existing driveway, do they need to apply for a curb cut, or is the existing one adequate? Just so for their information.
Susan, was that question directed to me? For some reason, your volume is very low on my end.
Oh, really? Sorry. Yeah, I was just saying, if there's an existing driveway already, do they need to apply for an additional curb cut from you, or is the fact that that's their existing adequate?
If it's an existing driveway now and it's roughly the same width, then no, they do not need to apply. What is the existing width now versus the 22 that it shows on the plan?
I don't have the answer to that. I don't know, Lynn, do you know?
I do not know how wide the existing curb cut is, no.
Okay.
It's approximately, Madam Chair, I'm with my client, it's approximately the same size as what's out there.
Okay.
And it was
Oh.
installed with that understanding when the last curb cut was pulled.
Okay, so there was a curb cut pulled previously.
There was,
Okay.
yep.
All right.
Right, so
All right, thank you.
DPW would not require another curb cut to be pulled.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else want to weigh in?
Susan, I just have one quick question of Lynn. You mentioned setbacks, and that reminded me that when I was looking at the plans, I really couldn't find Sin and Flesh Brook on the plans. Lynn, am I looking in the wrong place? Could anybody see where Sin and Flesh Brook cuts through the property as it does?
No.
Because that reminded me that I think a riverbank wetland, which this would be regulated under using the existing regulations, which are about to change, but I think you'll be regulated under the existing and rather than the future. I think there's 100-foot setback. But I couldn't see on the plans. Rosemary, you're much better at reading plans than I am. I couldn't see any markings or reference to Sin and Flesh Brook.
Madam Chair, if I could take a shot at addressing that, I agree. I don't see the brook on the plan, but what I can tell you is it's already been vetted and approved by DEM through RIPDs and the wetlands, and they have not determined that this is a riverbank wetland, that it's a freshwater wetland. And we have an insignificant alteration permit dated November 5, 2021. We could provide that to you. That might be helpful.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. And thank you, Eric. And you're quite right. This is really not within the jurisdiction of the Tiverton Planning Board, but we do like to keep our eye on wetland issues and just to be a backup for the state because they have limited resources for.
Absolutely. I think it'd be helpful and for the board and even though, like you said, it's outside the jurisdiction, I'll submit the INSIG alteration permit. It's been recorded as well, but I'll submit it that way you folks can have it and see it for the next hearing.
Yeah, I was just looking at the previous, that 2-lot subdivision. I didn't see it any list. It's not noted on that plan either.
No, it was just procured last November 2020.
No, I mean the Sin and Flesh Brook. I was just saying that.
Oh.
I didn't see it on the previously recorded plan either, so I'm not sure. I don't know where it is. Okay. So I think there's still a few things that loose ends we need. One, I would like to get a complete report, written report from Kelly Ravenel, assessing the stormwater, and I'll have Ed forward the preliminary report to you, Lynn, is so that you'll have a chance to review that and respond to all the comments on there. I think if you can provide the DEM permits, and also if you have a copy of the plans that were stamped by DEM, I'd like to see those to compare those to what you're submitting to us.
Sure thing.
Okay. What else did we need? Oh, and then the survey, the stamped into survey, standalone survey, and
And Todd and I will work on straightening out the zoning.
Yeah, the zoning. Yeah, the zoning was the other big issue. So we know if what we're recommending to the building official before we turn it over. Okay, is there anything I'm missing here?
Hold on, Bill.
I think those are the things that we were looking for. Oh, and then make sure on the plans you get the dimensional regulations. I mean, it's in your industrial zone, but normally people put it as like a table.
We'll add it.
It's included as part of it. Yeah. Just for future reference. So I think with that, anybody has no other questions or comments, then I think we'll continue this to the March meeting, give you time to, will that be enough time for you to get a survey done and all that, or do you need more time?
Absolutely.
Okay, and get the legal question answered in that time. Okay, all right, we'll continue this to the March.
No objection,
I'll
Eric?
make a motion that we continue to the regular March meeting,
Okay.
which is, do you
March
have the,
1st. Yeah, continue.
I was going to ask for the date, if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's March 1st.
March
Is
1st?
there a second? Yes,
First?
yes. March 1.
Yes.
Yeah, February and March always run the same, except for leap years.
Got it.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Amanda, okay. All right, all those in favor, I have to do a voice vote. So where will I start? Rosemary,
yes,
Christine,
Yes.
Adam,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Stu,
Yes,
Janice,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. All right, great.
Thank you for your time this evening. We'll
Right.
see you.
so Susan, don't we need to extend the time clock?
Well,
Runs out February 24.
I don't know, does it even have, well, that's what my question is, because their certificate of completeness was not done, and that's when our time clock's supposed to start. So I put this on the agenda because I'm not clear what, if we have a time clock or what it is.
Mr. Romano will consent to it, whatever the board wants to do.
Thank you very much.
All right, so what, I don't know, say March 5th, you want to go March 5th?
New time clock, a due date, Eric, of March 5. Is that okay for you?
That's just fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
so
Okay,
moved.
Okay. Okay, to 5:35. Okay, is there a second for that?
I'll second that.
All right, okay. All right, all those in favor will go around the clock again. Rosemary,
Yes,
Christine,
Yes.
Adam,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Stu,
Yes,
Janice,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay.
Again, thank you for your time. We'll
Thank
see
you.
you in March.
Okay, thank you, Stu, for reminding
Call
me.
me tomorrow, Eric.
Okay, thanks, Todd.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well done. Okay.
Mr. Romano, what time are you available tomorrow?
Whenever you want to call me, Miss Eva.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so the next item we have is Tiverton Heights Limited Partnership, preliminary plan, major land development, comprehensive permit application to construct 275 units, single-family duplex townhouses and apartments with 25% deed restriction to low and moderate income residents on 135.9 acres. That's 797 Fish Road, plat 110, lot 207, north side Souza Road, west side Fish Road, and east of Main Road. R60 zoning district request extension of time clock only and vote. Time clock is to February 16th, 2022. So I didn't know if Mr. Landry was going to be here tonight, but I don't see him. So I don't know. Ed, did you receive anything in writing yet from him? I don't know. Did he submit?
Just
a request?
in regards to the 15th, not in regards to the 1st.
Okay.
Oh, and then for the time clock extension, the only thing I had was an email sent from Mike to him asking about the time clock.
All right, but nothing formally has been submitted. Okay. As we wanted to do it tonight because we were just concerned if something happened with quorum or weather that we wouldn't be able to. Our special meeting on the 15th didn't happen. We were covered. So if he's not here, because the applicant has to request this, we can't initiate the request. So Todd?
I would just continue the meeting to February 15, and we will continue to reach out to Mr. Landry.
Yeah, he has to submit something to us in writing. I mean, technically, we're supposed to approve it as well. Okay, yeah, I was looking for at least 60 to 90 days to address some of this. Okay, so Ed.
I'm sorry, 60 to 90 days beyond the February 15 date.
Yeah.
So I'm clear when we speak with him.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and then if you submit something in writing to Ed, then I guess just let us know so we know that we're covered for the meeting on the 15th. Okay. Okay, that was short and sweet. So yeah, tonight was not a public hearing. It's been re-advertised for February 15th. Okay, no action. Okay, speeding right along. So administrative officer, there's outstanding September, October, November, and December and January administrative officer reports. Hopefully, and she has lots of time on her hands. She'll be able to kind of update us on things. Up to the point where she went on maternity leave. What?
Susan, this is Rick Rogers.
You want to go?
If you don't need me, I'll leave.
Yeah, you can go. Actually, Kelly, we're finished. Yeah.
Thank you.
With you tonight also. So you can just,
Great.
yeah. Thank you very much.
Have a good
Okay.
night.
Thank you. Okay, so last item is Tiverton Planning Board approval of minutes update. Or no, it's not the last item, sorry. So I wasn't sure where we stood on minutes, and I was trying to go through this to clarify things for Ed as well as us. So I went through all the Secretary of State agendas and minutes, and that's the sheet that you have. And we have to figure out how we're going to get these caught up. I mean, basically, we only have 5 sets of minutes for the year that have been both approved and posted to Secretary of State. Some are drafts, some are posted, some are not posted. We don't have any minutes from November, December, January. And so that's kind of where things stand. It's a lot to put on Ed. I don't know how this is going to go. I know he's going to do his best, but you know, we really need to get these done and posted. So anyway.
Is there anything that volunteers on the planning board can do to move the process forward a little bit? It's bordering on, well, it's certainly a violation of the spirit of the Open Meeting Act that when public go onto the Secretary of State's website to check on our minutes, they're not there. I'd be happy to volunteer to do something, Susan, if I can, but I don't want to butt in. But it's aggravating because I always like to go through the minutes to refresh my memory on what we've done a month or 2 or 3 months ago on something that's now come back before the board, and it ain't there. And that's
and for writing decisions and all sorts of stuff. Well, the question I had is with the July, August, and September minutes that we've approved. I mean, Jennifer took the notes for them, And so she's the only one that can finalize them because I don't have them. Ed doesn't have them. I don't know how to fix that because she's the one that has all
And I
the,
turned my notes in as well.
yeah, I mean, all if we did any amendments from July, August, or September, she's the one that has them. So I don't know if any action can be done on them until she returns. Because I wouldn't know where to look for them.
Ask an operational question. Are those not in the Office cloud or database? I mean, where do they reside on the personal computer of the administrative officer? I mean, why isn't there a record of them in our purview?
I don't know. It's not, I don't know. It's above my pay grade. I don't know where they are. I don't know if she did them by hand. I don't know if she made the changes to them. I don't know if they're in her computer.
Maybe this is a question.
It's hard because she can't be here to respond.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just don't know. I mean, I remember
Well, has there been a written request to her?
Well, she's on medical leave, so I don't know if.
Right, but there's a.
Be asking, or if we're supposed to be contacting her. I don't know.
Does the town have an HR officer?
Mary Lou?
I mean, I feel like it's a personnel issue. If there are things that were due, and it's also, to me, it talks to unclear operational practices in terms of town and committee documents that we should have access to. So I'm just wondering if there's an administrative approach to this that would be best to, and to your point, Susan, for those 3 months that seemingly were already amended or in the process of being amended, if we could at least retrieve those. But I feel like there should be an official reach on the part of the employer to the employee.
Well, I think that would be the town administrator. I mean, it wouldn't be me.
Yeah.
I mean, the approved minutes, July, August, September, well, and even April, March and April. March, April, July, August, September. They've all been approved. So there's been amendments made, or were approved as is, but the final has not been produced. And then, I have mixed feelings. I mean, I feel for Jennifer, but I also feel for Ed. He's now being asked to do the November, December, January minutes when he wasn't even an employee. And he's never done these minutes. And it just seems like that's a lot to ask or put on him as well.
Those meetings are recorded, are they not?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I don't know if Jennifer started them. I don't know if the November and December minutes, if she'd started them and they're in her computer somewhere, but.
So we don't have anything for the November or December minutes. The other, you said July, August, September.
June, July, August. Well, yeah,
But-
June, July, August, September. Oh, yeah, it is.
So
From June on, October are the only minutes that are approved and posted.
Yep. So I do have notes for those months. But
do we not have access to the recordings?
we have access to those.
Well, there's translation software that will take the recording and put it into document form. And then, I'm just trying to make the work easier. It's astounding to me that we don't have access to these documents. It's
right. I guess we weren't anticipating her going on leave as part of it, but yeah, it's just that's, it's not all her. It was a previous clerk too that let these things fall through the cracks, and and now it's like all this stuff to try and figure out where it is so that we can be within, the state, and for our own records. Yeah. Because I know decisions have to be written, and we don't have any minutes to go with it.
Yeah. Well, again, my suggestion would be if we can have the town administrator reach out for those initial already approved minutes. And then if we have access to the recordings for the November, December months, those could at least be put through translation software to help cut down on Ed's work, and then amend whatever notes there are, and he could share them in that form for review. I'm just trying to
I know, I'm
provide
just
solution.
wondering, I mean, my guess is the town does not have translation software, but I'll ask, I don't know,
It's available on the web. It's a service.
really.
It's usually a per word count translation. There's lots of different tools available.
Ah. All right, well, that's beyond my. Okay, all right, so I guess what I'll do is contact the town administrator and just make him aware of the situation and ask for direction. That's all I can do. I mean, it's, so anyway, I just want to let everybody know kind of that was where we're at with minutes, and hopefully we can get it corrected. And
Susan, how many decisions have to be written?
Brayton solar final decision has to be written before I can record the plans. We received the recorded plans, or the plans for recording. I haven't gone through them yet. They came in last week. I have to go through them, see if they're ready for recording, but I can't. And the documents came in, but I can't record them until I will not record them until the decision is written. And that hasn't been done because when we did that in January, Jennifer was gone. So Todd, I think that's going to fall on solicitor to write the decision. And it was based on well, it was January 11th when that meeting is when we approved it. Brayton Solar final.
That meeting was on Zoom, was it not?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Did, Todd, would you know if Mr. Mancini had a stenographer there? He did when we did the preliminary.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
I Zoom with Ms. Eva.
Yeah. Call me
Susan.
Rosemary. It's better.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any other, I can't think of it. There's Bourne Mill has also come in. And I think though that was, see, that's why I was trying to look for those minutes, but I don't have them. But my recollection is that it was going to, I can't remember if it was supposed to come back to us for final approval or if it was going to be done administratively. I don't know, you know, because I know they resubmitted stuff. They want to get it processed for their grant.
So I have access to that meeting, so I can go back and find out for you.
All right, if you can find out, let me know.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it said it would be done administratively or, but that puts me in a position. It's not Jennifer and I now, it's just me. Maybe it'll be Stu and I to review it before it gets done. And then I don't know, I don't know if any final advisory opinion or a final decision have to go with that. We'll have to look at the minutes and figure it, because that was an amended, oh no, Jennifer wrote an amended final plan decision. I remember she wrote that already. That went with when she applied for the, when they sent their letter application to apply for the grant. So if we can find that, she did write that decision.
And that was for Bourne Mill.
Yeah, I just don't remember if we had said it has to be done or it could be done administratively, or if it needed to come back before the board. I don't know.
Meeting over?
Almost, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, so yeah, these are just kind of loose ends that I have no information on. So I'm sorry. We'll try and sort it out. Let's move along. It's too depressing. Okay, comprehensive community plan, element 11, implementation, review of items planning board is tasked to address and discussion. Stu, I'm going to do my thing first because that's brief, and then you can take over. Okay, so you have a couple of sheets. So the first one is the one that Stu wrote up. Now I can find mine. And then the last two sheets, I had gone through like over a year ago through the comp plan, and element 11 delegates who the responsibility, what town entities are responsible for carrying out the tasks. They're short, medium, long-term, and ongoing. It tells the element, and basically I just took all those out of the table. I went through them and looked and compiled them to see what all the planning board was on what we had to accomplish. So, and Stu went through and, oh, here it is, prioritize. So I don't know, that's the basics. Yeah. So Stu went through, I guess, that or on his own, and then he has prioritized some of the things he thinks we should be working on. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Stu.
Well, actually, it's not so much a prioritization based on importance. Unfortunately, the important stuff is also very technical. What I did is I simply went through the list of tasks that are assigned to us, the planning board, with respect to updating our zoning based on the comprehensive community plan of 2018, and picked out 5 or 6 fairly easy tasks that we could at least get started on that wouldn't require outside expertise, that a group of us could deal with fairly simply, I think, very straightforward items. And then at least we would start the process, because nothing has been done except a number of properties. I think a list of about 14 properties in town have been rezoned from residential to open space. And that's just the beginning of the process of making the comprehensive, implementing recommendations from the comprehensive plan into zoning. So what I was hoping we could do tonight is just decide, would the whole board like to work on some of these items as a board, so that we would put them on, maybe start with just one, and put that on the agenda for the entire board to work on, or would the board prefer to create a committee of the board that would work on some of these items and then bring recommendations back to the full board, and then when the full board approved something, eventually that would go to town council, because council has to approve zoning changes in the context of a public hearing. In fact, we do also have to have a public hearing when we're recommending zoning changes. So the first question, or actually the only question I have tonight is, would you like to do it as a full board? Would you like to do it just as a committee? Or would you like to just forget the whole thing?
Forget the whole thing.
That's what I would. I knew that that would probably be the most popular thing. But you know what?
Which one's the easiest one to do? That's what I'm looking for. Which one's the easiest? That's what we want.
I would think that a subcommittee would be the best use of time, a small group that can be focused and bring recommendations forward. Trying to do that kind of work by full committee seems
right.
A fool's errand, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not very.
Okay.
Yeah, so well, think about it. I mean, it's not on the agenda to establish that, but I think
let's think about it. But in order to make some progress, let's agree to put this on the agenda. If we do have time on the 15th of this month, just to approve a committee of the planning board, because that would require a motion to approve members who would serve on the committee of the planning board. Could we put that on the agenda for February 15? We want to free up as much time as possible for the heights. And that's really going to be almost the entire focus of the meeting, but it wouldn't take long, only a few minutes to have a vote to establish a subcommittee and actually make appointments to that subcommittee or committee of the planning board.
It would be 2 or 3 people. It would be
2 or 3 people. I would certainly participate.
Yeah, and then start with the easiest one.
And we'd start with the easiest one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right, does that sound okay? Everybody in agreement? We can put it on the 15th.
That sounds
agenda.
great.
Think about
Sounds
it.
good.
Whoever's, might be interested to delve more into the comp plan and zoning. I mean,
May I request that be our first agenda item and just get it out of the way, so that then we can move into Tiverton Heights and not hold it to the end? So
sure. If
efficiency.
if somebody wants to do it, yeah, I don't want to start doing a lengthy discussion because we're probably going to have public here for that one, so I don't want it to go on. It's just a matter if we can do it and appoint somebody. So why don't, if you're interested, either let Ed or I know, so we can know when walking into the meeting.
I'd be interested
somebody-
to serve with Stu.
Okay.
Oh, I would
And-
too.
And may I just ask, so is there an already a sheet summarizing these that exists?
yes.
in the document?
Yes.
I haven't seen
Susan,
that. Could you
Susan has
share?
provided that. So Susan has picked out all of the items on her 2-page sheet, which is attached to my 1-page sheet.
I never got it. It wasn't in the packet that was sent to us, so.
Oh, really?
Yes,
I
it
was-
was.
I don't
Uh,
know.
All right, can you just
Really?
make sure Ed send it out again to Peter if he can get it? I don't know if everybody got it. Yeah, it's based on element 11. It's the
There are
item.
hard copies in your mailbox as well.
I haven't been into the,
That's okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can drop them off, Peter,
That's all right.
on the way by.
As long as I actually prefer them electronically anyway, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if Ed, if you could just try and send it again. For some reason, maybe it didn't happen.
Yeah, I can resend it again.
Okay, thank you. All right, so yeah, if anybody else is interested, a third person is Stu and Peter, if anybody. If you've made up your mind before the 15th, then that's fine.
I would be interested.
Without Christine?
Yeah.
All right. We can't formalize this until then, but all right, so everybody else is off the hook, I guess.
Thank you, Christine. I appreciate that.
Okay, and then the other thing to go along with that, it's not on the agenda, but it'll be on the 15th, we can't vote, is, well, actually, it doesn't really come to us, it goes to the council. They're looking for 2 planning board members to be on the solar ordinance subcommittee. So it's not like I don't think we would be recommending to send somebody. I think 2 people, because the other people that applied to the council. So I think if you're interested, you should be going to the council.
My understanding from the town clerk is that Joan Chabot, the town clerk, emailed me indicating that town council expects the planning board to nominate 2 of our members and then actually vote on those 2 members and then pass those names on as our nominees to this solar committee, advisory committee of town council. And she mentioned that that's what the Economic Development Commission had done when they forwarded Renee Jones' name as a possible member of the, or as the nominee of that committee, the Economic Development Commission, to the town council. So, but if you want to do it a different way, Sue, that's
No,
fine.
I just thought the other people applied to the council, was appointed. I think 3 people were appointed.
Well, they advertised
Can I just
for-
interrupt? I don't want to go too far off our agenda.
Right.
Okay.
right.
So
Yeah,
why
I
don't
just
we
think.
down for
yeah.
February?
It isn't, isn't it on,
No,
on the
No,
agenda?
it's not.
no, it didn't make it. So we'll follow up on this on the 15th, right? Yeah, because.
You're telling me, Sue, that we should put on the agenda to vote or nominate 2 people from the planning board? We can certainly do that.
Yeah, we have to do that. Yeah, we'll do that on the 15th. Yeah, we can't do it tonight, didn't make it to the agenda. Okay.
Do you
And
want
people
that?
need to think about it.
Do you want that to go right after the subcommittee for the comprehensive?
Yeah, if it's fast and clean, we can do it that way. Yeah. I mean, somebody.
But that requires some members of the planning board to volunteer.
Right. Yes, it does.
If no one volunteers, it'll go really quickly.
Right, right.
We'll take nominations and do a vote on the 15th.
Yeah, okay, all right, thank you. I think that's all we had for tonight, so appreciate everybody being available then on the 15th. We'll do Tiverton Heights, start the public hearing process. It's gonna be a long process, so.
And Sue, do you know that's still going to be on Zoom at this point?
We don't know, isn't it? I think Monday is when the governor, I guess, is gonna decide if we're gonna still be on Zoom for a while. That's when the 30 days is up, if we're gonna be Zoom or not Zoom. So I think Ed can probably send that out next week to verify. I think actually we've started did we start? No, we didn't start the agenda, but the public notice was written so that it could be either way. So we'll make sure you know if it's live or not. And
Yeah, we're gonna post, or I'll send an email out
Yeah.
once we know.
yeah, and since the meeting's in 2 weeks, Ed and I'll try and get the meeting scheduled. Yeah, get everything to you. I think you actually probably already have. If you can't find your Tiverton Heights material that was distributed like 6 months ago, let him know so he can resend it if you want paper or electronic. I know it's easy to.
Could I please have that electronic?
That's Amanda.
Yep, I'll send it over.
Thank you.
And if you're going to send it to one, just send it to everyone. So there's no question.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, just group. Yeah, so everybody has all the same things. Okay.
And BCC it.
Yeah, I got that now.
Yeah, so, okay, I think that's all we better talk about now.
I'll make a motion then, if hearing no other, that we adjourn at 8:09.
Wow, setting records here. Okay.
That's crazy.
Second.
All right. That's
Privilege.
why we're having a second meeting. This one was too short.